Maya and the ocean. From the moment she could talk, Maya spoke of the ocean. "It's too big," she would whisper to her mother, clutching her tiny hands together. "The big wave comes." Her parents thought nothing of it at first. Children had fears, after all. But Maya wasn't like other children. At just 3 years old, she spoke of things no toddler should know. Of a bustling city by the sea, of a warm bakery where she kneaded dough, of 3 brothers who teased her but always protected her. "My name wasn't Maya before," she told them one night, her dark eyes shining in the dim light of her bedroom. "I was someone else." Her mother, Anna, felt a chill crawl down her spine. "Who were you?" she asked softly. Maya hesitated before answering. "My name was Anna, too." Her parents exchanged wary glances. They had never told her about past lives. They didn't even believe in reincarnation. Yet Maya spoke with such certainty, such sadness, that they couldn't ignore it. As she grew older, Maya's stories became more detailed. "We had a bakery," she said one day, as she helped her mother knead dough in their small village home. "A little one near the big red church." Anna paused. "What church, sweetheart?" "The one in Portsville." Her mother dropped the spoon she was holding. Portsville was a real town, a coastal city miles away, a place Maya had never been. But it wasn't just the memories. It was the fear. Maya refused to go near water, not even the shallow lake near their home. She would scream if they tried to take her to the beach. "The wave will come," she would cry. "It will take me away again." At night, the nightmares came. Anna and her husband Daniel would wake to Maya's muffled screams. She would thrash in bed, hands reaching out as if trying to grab something. Or someone. "Hold on," she would sob in her sleep. "Hold on, don't let go." It was unbearable. Desperate for answers, Anna began researching. That's when she found Dr. Jim Tucker, a psychiatrist who studied children with past life memories. She reached out, and to her relief, he agreed to meet Maya. Sitting across from the little girl, Dr. Tucker spoke gently. "Tell me about Portsville," he said. Maya's eyes lit up. "It was my home," she said simply. "I lived with my family. We had a bakery. I loved the smell of fresh bread in the morning." Dr. Tucker leaned forward. "And the big wave?" Maya's small face darkened. She was quiet for a long time. "The ocean got angry," she finally whispered. "The wave came. It took me away." Dr. Tucker's heart pounded. He later did his own research and discovered the truth. 2 decades ago, a devastating tsunami had struck Portsville. Among the missing was a young woman named Anna Johnson. Her family had owned a bakery near a red brick church. The realization shook Maya's parents. Could their little girl truly be remembering another life? As the years passed, Maya's memories of Portsville faded. The nightmares became less frequent. Yet a piece of her past remained. When she grew up, she studied environmental science, dedicating her life to early warning systems for natural disasters. "I can't change the past," she once told her mother, "but maybe I can help someone in the future." Anna watched her daughter with pride, and just a hint of wonder. Because deep down, she knew some part of Maya had lived before. The past life of Ryan. In 2009, at just 4 years old, Ryan Hammonds from Oklahoma began experiencing intense nightmares, waking up in the middle of the night, screaming for his mother, Cindy. He would plead with her, saying, "I used to be somebody else," and express a deep longing to return to his previous life in Hollywood. Ryan described vivid memories of a past existence, mentioning interactions with iconic figures like Rita Hayworth, dancing on Broadway, traveling to Paris, and living in a luxurious home with a swimming pool and fast cars. He even recounted being punched by Marilyn Monroe's bodyguards. Initially, Cindy dismissed these claims as the product of an overactive imagination. However, Ryan's persistent and detailed recollections prompted her to investigate further. She borrowed several books about old Hollywood from the local library, hoping to find something that might resonate with her son. As they flipped through one of the books together, Ryan became excited upon seeing a still from the 1932 film Night After Night. Pointing to an unidentified actor, he exclaimed, "Mama, that's me, the old me." Is determined to understand her son's experiences, Cindy reached out to Dr. Jim Tucker, a psychiatrist at the University of Virginia who specializes in cases of children reporting memories of past lives. Dr. Tucker and his team conducted extensive research and discovered that the man Ryan identified was Marty Martin, a former movie extra who later became a successful Hollywood agent. Martin lived a life of luxury, mingling with celebrities, traveling abroad, and residing in upscale neighborhoods. He passed away in 1964 at the age of 61. Ryan's detailed accounts of Martin's life were remarkably accurate. He correctly identified Martin's profession, described his home with a swimming pool, and recounted specific events that aligned with Martin's experiences. In total, Dr. Tucker verified 55 specific details that Ryan provided about Martin's life. For instance, Ryan mentioned having danced on Broadway, traveled to Paris, and lived on a street with the word rock in it, which corresponded to Martin's residence on Roxbury Drive in Beverly Hills. In an effort to provide closure, a documentary crew arranged for Ryan to meet Martin's daughter. During their interaction, Ryan shared information that only close family members would know, further validating his claims. As Ryan grew older, his memories of Martin's life began to fade, a phenomenon commonly observed in similar cases studied by Dr. Tucker. Despite the fading memories, Ryan's case remains one of the most compelling examples, suggesting the possibility of reincarnation. While skeptics argue that such cases could result from a child's imagination or external influences, the specificity and accuracy of Ryan's recollections continue to intrigue researchers and the public alike, prompting ongoing discussions about the mysteries of consciousness and the possibility of past lives. Plane on Fire. In 2002, television producers introduced Dr. Jim Tucker to what would become one of the most compelling reincarnation cases in recent history. They were working on a show about past life memories, which ultimately never aired, and sought his expertise. That's when he learned about James Leininger, a 4-year-old boy from Louisiana who claimed to have been a World War II fighter pilot shot down over Iwo Jima. James' parents, Bruce and Andrea Leininger, first noticed something unusual when their son was just 2 years old. He began experiencing terrifying nightmares, waking up screaming, "Airplane crash, plane on fire, little man can't get out." Over time, James revealed an uncanny knowledge of World War II aircraft, far beyond what a toddler could reasonably know. When Andrea mistakenly called a part of his toy plane a bomb, James corrected her, explaining it was actually a drop tank. Another time, while watching a History Channel documentary, the narrator identified a Japanese aircraft as a Zero. James adamantly insisted it was a Tony, and he was right. The details grew even more specific. James claimed that he had also been named James in his past life, and that he had flown off a ship called the Natoma. His parents later discovered that the USS Natoma Bay had been a real aircraft carrier in World War II. Further research led them to a pilot named James Houston, who had served on the Natoma Bay and was killed in action over the Pacific. James' recurring nightmares continued, and his fixation on his past life memories became overwhelming. Desperate for help, Andrea reached out to Carol Bowman, a past life therapist who advised her to validate James' experiences rather than dismiss them. She encouraged Andrea to reassure James that his past life trauma had already happened and that he was safe in his new life. Andrea followed this guidance, and gradually, James's nightmares lessened. The Leiningers later documented their journey in Soul Survivor, a 2009 book detailing their son's extraordinary recollections. Not everyone is convinced. Professor Christopher French, a psychologist familiar with Dr. Tucker's research, remains skeptical. He argues that many of these cases are investigated only after families have already embraced the idea of reincarnation. In James's case, French points out that although his parents claim they never exposed him to World War II history, he had visited a flight museum at just 18 months old. French suggests that James's knowledge could have been unintentionally influenced by his parents or others who encouraged his beliefs. He also questions whether James's statements were misinterpreted, asking, could he have said something that just sounded like Natoma? Dr. Tucker, however, maintains that James made many specific statements about his past life before his family had ever heard of James Houston or the USS Natoma Bay. Bruce Leininger, James's father, understands the skepticism. I was the original skeptic, he admits, but the information James gave us was so striking and unusual. If someone wants to look at the facts and challenge them, they're welcome to examine everything we have. He laughs at the idea that James's memories were planted, adding, you try telling a 2-year-old what to believe. You're not going to be able to give them a script. Is James Leininger proof of reincarnation, or is there another explanation? The mystery remains, but his case continues to challenge our understanding of memory, identity, and the possibility of past lives. The Reincarnation of Franz Liszt. In the early 1930s, David Seckham was born in England into a family with a rich musical heritage. His grandmother was an accomplished pianist. From a young age, David exhibited an extraordinary talent for the piano, teaching himself to play without formal lessons. When questioned about his lack of traditional instruction, he confidently replied, I have no time for them. I have a technique of my own. Embracing a flamboyant persona, David transformed himself into Vladimir Levinsky. He adopted a distinctive style, often seen in knee-length boots, a swirling cape, and a flower on each lapel, while carrying a swagger stick. His unique appearance and undeniable talent quickly garnered attention, leading to performances at esteemed venues such as Cheltenham Town Hall, Montpellier Rotunda, and Malvern Winter Gardens. Audiences were captivated by his self-taught prowess and unconventional approach to classical music. Levinsky's profound connection to the works of German composer Franz Liszt led him to believe he was Liszt's reincarnation. By the age of 21, he was performing to packed concert halls, earning the nickname Paganini of the piano. However, his deep admiration for Liszt occasionally bordered on obsession. During a concert on January 23, 1952, Levinsky abruptly halted his performance to deliver an impromptu lecture on Liszt. While the audience was left disappointed, he considered the evening a tremendous success, experiencing it as only Liszt himself could. The UVA research. Dr. Jim Tucker was a child psychiatrist in private practice when he first learned about the groundbreaking reincarnation research led by Dr. Ian Stevenson, founder of the Division of Perceptual Studies at the University of Virginia, UVA. Fascinated by the work, he joined the division in 1996 and eventually took over its past life research after Dr. Stevenson's retirement 6 years later. Since then, the UVA team has documented over 2,500 cases of children from around the world who recall detailed memories of past lives. Among these astonishing cases is a toddler from California with an impressive golf swing who claimed to have been the legendary golfer Bobby Jones. There's also a 5-year-old boy from the Midwest who not only shared memories with a long-deceased brother, but also bore physical similarities: blindness in one eye, a mark on his neck, and a limp. In India, a young girl suddenly began speaking fluently in a dialect she had never been exposed to. These and other cases are detailed in Dr. Tucker's book, Return to Life: Extraordinary Cases of Children Who Remember Past Lives. The UVA research shows that children who recall past lives typically begin speaking about them around the age of 2 or 3, but stop by 6 or 7. Around the same time, most of us lose early childhood memories. To ensure credibility, Dr. Tucker evaluates each case carefully, ruling out fraud and external influences. He asks 2 critical questions. Are the parents reliable? And could the child have picked up these memories through television, overheard conversations, or other sources? If these possibilities can be eliminated, the team conducts interviews with the child and family to gather a detailed account of the supposed past life. They then attempt to identify a deceased individual whose life matches the child's memories, an essential step to distinguish fact from fantasy. Astonishingly, close to 78% of cases investigated by the UVA team are solved, meaning they successfully match a real person from the past. Additionally, nearly 20% of these children have birthmarks or physical traits corresponding to wounds or injuries from their alleged past lives. One particularly compelling case involved a boy who remembered being shot. He was born with 2 birthmarks that aligned exactly where a bullet would enter and exit. Perhaps one of the most remarkable cases is that of Ryan, a young boy obsessed with memories of a Hollywood past. Desperate for answers, his mother sought help from Dr. Tucker. An archivist eventually discovered that the man Ryan had singled out was Marty Martin, a former Hollywood agent who had made a brief, uncredited appearance in Night After Night. When the team contacted Martin's daughter, she helped confirm over 50 details from Ryan's recollections, from his father's work history to the layout of his home. For Ryan's mother, this revelation was life-changing. He wasn't crazy, she said. There really was another family. Could these stories be proof of reincarnation? The findings of Dr. Tucker and his team suggest that some mysteries of the mind and soul may be far beyond what we currently understand. Shanti Devi. In 1926, a girl named Shanti Devi was born in Delhi, India. At the age of 4, she began sharing vivid memories of a previous life in a town called Mathura, approximately 145 kilometers from her home. She recounted specific details about her past existence, including her former name, Logdi Devi, her husband's identity as Kedarnath, and her death shortly after childbirth. Shanti's persistent recollections intrigued her teachers and local community members. Upon investigation, it was discovered that a woman named Logdi Devi had indeed lived in Mathura, married to a merchant named Kedarnath, and had died 10 days after giving birth to a son. When Kedarnath visited Delhi, Shanti immediately recognized him and provided intimate details about their life together, convincing him of her memories. The case garnered significant attention, leading Mahatma Gandhi to establish a commission to investigate Shanti's claims. The commission accompanied Shanti to Mathura, where she recognized various family members and landmarks from her alleged past life. The commission's 1936 report concluded that Shanti Devi's statements aligned accurately with verified facts about Logdi Devi's life, lending credibility to her claims of reincarnation. Throughout her life, Shanti Devi maintained the memories of her past existence, offering detailed accounts of her experiences after death and the period between lives. Her case remains one of the most well-documented and researched instances suggesting the possibility of reincarnation, prompting discussions about the nature of consciousness and the persistence of emotional connections beyond a single lifetime. The girl who remembered Nina. From the moment she learned to talk, 2-year-old Ija spoke of Nina. To her parents, Ross and Marie, it seemed like any other imaginary friend, until they noticed something different. Unlike Ija's previous made-up characters, Nina remained constant. Her story never wavered. Nina plays the piano, Ija would say, though she had never touched one. She loves to dance. She likes pink, she once added, wrinkling her nose. I don't. There was something else. Something that unsettled Marie, a psychologist by training. When Ija spoke as Nina, her voice changed. It became softer, more delicate, almost formal, as though a different personality had momentarily taken over. At first, Marie and Ross were merely intrigued. Then came the fear. One evening, as Marie was chopping vegetables, she turned on the food processor. The loud whirring filled the kitchen, and Ija screamed, dropping her spoon. "Get the tank out of here!" she shrieked, eyes wide with terror. Marie froze. Ija had never been exposed to war films. The word tank wasn't one she had learned in books. It made no sense. Until the next moment, when Ija turned to her mother and said, something that would haunt her forever. "Nina has numbers on her arm," she said, "and they make her sad." Marie's breath caught. "What did you say?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Nina has numbers here," Ija repeated, pointing to her own forearm. "She misses her family. She was taken away." Marie couldn't breathe. Ija was just a toddler. She had never heard of the Holocaust, never been told about the horrors of concentration camps, where prisoners were branded with identification numbers. But here she was, speaking about it with absolute certainty. Marie and Ross began researching, desperate for answers. They stumbled upon the work of Dr. Jim Tucker at the University of Virginia, a psychiatrist who had spent years studying children who claimed to remember past lives. They read cases of young children recalling names, places, even their own deaths in striking detail. Could Ija be one of them? The strange moments kept coming. One day, she sat at the piano and played the tune to "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star" without hesitation. Marie and Ross stared. "Where did you learn that?" Ross asked. "Nina taught me," Ija answered simply. And there were the nightmares. Ija would wake up crying, pacing in her room. "The bad guys are coming," she would whimper. "The blue clouds are coming to kill us all." Marie held her, whispering reassurances, but her daughter's words sent shivers down her spine. "Why do I have these bad pictures in my heart?" Ija once asked, her small hands gripping Marie's sleeve. Marie had no answer. Eventually, they reached out to Dr. Tucker. He had heard many stories like Ija's, but even he was taken aback by the weight of her memories. He met with the family, watching Ija closely. She was just a little girl, a playful, happy child. But when she spoke of Nina, something in her changed. Over time, Ija's recollections began to fade, as many of Dr. Tucker's subjects' memories did by the age of 7 or 8. The nightmares grew less frequent, and her stories about Nina became more distant, as if a veil was being drawn over them. But Marie and Ross never forgot. And sometimes, in quiet moments, Marie would catch her daughter staring at her arm, tracing invisible numbers on her skin.